Hey, I'm gonna wait a couple minutes just in case, you know, just in case somebody shows up. I mean, I'm not expecting y'all to show up because I was kind of like, oh shit, hey Dan. Um, I wasn't sure if I was really gonna sit down and follow through with this, but I'm glad I did. Shout out to Dan. I'm gonna be a little awkward because it's been a minute since I've done my live stream. Let me go ahead and wave. It's been a minute since I've done my live streams, but hey, I just released my Flux EP on November 3rd, so make sure you go check that out. As you guys know, my style is experimental electronic music, so the EP is experimental electronic, yeah, and it has some hip hop influences as well, which is kind of like the new element that kind of makes this project a little bit different from my previous EPs. The glare in my glasses is distracting me, so I'm just gonna go ahead and take these off. Okay. So I'm looking at my iPad right here. I have this itinerary here because I'm so organized or whatever about my stuff. Um, I just introduced myself, so introduction, cool. So just a brief overview of the EP. So I started producing this EP. I want to say around summer of last year. Now, I initially had a different title for the EP. I had it titled as Limina because limina means light and it means brightness and things like that because I wanted to emphasize a brighter kind of sound on this EP. But as I started to kind of go for that concept of limina, of brightness, it wasn't authentic. And when I do things that don't feel like they fit me, it just doesn't feel. It's almost like wearing a shoe that's too small or too big, or wearing an outfit that's too. I guess that would be too small. I mean, as adults, I don't feel like we usually do that, but it was like that. Like it wasn't a good fit. Like I needed a different title to better capture what I was experiencing starting college at Cal State Fullerton as a transfer student in the middle of my sophomore year. Um, Dealing with managing being like a part-time employee with Uber Eats, and I don't even know if I'm supposed to say that, but Uber Eats and DoorDash, while going to school, while trying to build what I know can be a really successful career, it was a total onslaught of struggles that I had never thought about, or I wouldn't have been able to plan for. What that made me feel was in a state of flux. I remember saying to myself, like, I just feel like I'm in a state of flux. Like everything is shifting around, everything is changing, and the man that I used to be, or at least the man that I thought I was, isn't. He isn't valid for this situation. He isn't like equipped for this situation. I have to become someone better. I have to like transition. I have to like develop, like, but like in a way that's made that I've never had to before. When I've changed before, I think I've always had like a little bit of like, okay, well, I know what I'm changing for. There's some level of planability to it. There's some level of certainty to it, right? When you're dealing with this music stuff, like there's all this uncertainty that comes along with it. And so you can't really take this kind of deterministic, sure mindset into this. You kind of have to have what's called a growth mindset and just be open to the possibilities and open to where the different challenges take you and the different kind of elements of your personality that it kind of helps to develop. So with that in mind, Flux just felt like a better title. I mean, my life was in a state of flux and still kind of is, but I feel like I have a better handle on it. I'm coming to the end of my junior year. I just released my EP. I've been making some really good relationships with my mastering engineer, Dan, shout out to him, who helped polish my record and make it just gave me that peace of mind when promoting the record to know that it meets the quality standards for the audio and it meets the quality standards for like the compositions and everything. He really just makes sure that there's a polish on it that I couldn't have provided myself. So shout out to him and thank you to Dan for that. So with that in mind, I guess I'll start by giving a little bit of a synopsis for each track, or at least, yeah. He left a comment saying it was a pleasure to work with me. So shout out to him. So I'm just gonna, I guess I'll start with the singles and then I'll move to like the album cuts or the EP cuts, as it were. The first single I released was Bloom. Now, usually I would try to release a song that was a little bit more energetic, lead single I hate even using that kind of industry terminology, but that's kind of just how I think. But I was gonna go for more like an energetic single, maybe more like Vista or maybe more like Red Planet to start. However, Red Planet had just been finished around the time that I was planning to release the first single, so I wanted to give it a little bit more time to marinate and make sure that I was receiving feedback on it to know like that it met the standards that I thought it should meet to be released and to be a representative of the project itself. So I wanted to go like a make a left turn, I guess you could say. I wanted to be a little bit more experimental, maybe challenge my audience and the listeners a little bit, but not in a way where it was inaccessible. I definitely feel like Bloom executed on that because it has that experimental electronic diversion element to it with like with the drums and the kinetic drums, but it also has like that very simple ambient basis with the melodies and the harmonies that come and interplay with the rhythms. And I just think that coming into spring, coming into the start of the year, after after the winter season, I felt like Bloom was a perfect representation of spring, and it was a perfect representation of like thawing out, or of like of like defrosting, if you will, and just kind of preparing to warm up for the year. And I just felt like that song, when I made it back in 2019, it didn't have all of those connections, it didn't have all of those meanings. It was a pretty song, but I didn't really have a story behind it. And it was just at the start of this year where I was like, you know what? I need a song that can kind of help me stay centered and that can help me be mindful. And that's what Bloom was. Bloom was the song that I knew if it could help me be mindful, given my OCD, given my anxiety, that it could help you guys too. And from the comments that you guys have left and from the feedback that I've gotten from just everybody, it seems like I've achieved that goal. So thank you so much for that. So after I released Bloom, I saw like a lot of positive reception, but then I'm like, okay, what do I do now? Like, so I have this collaboration that I just made with Alfaro, although he now goes by Zol, Xeoul. He used to be Alfaro, Alphar. Oh fuck, I think it's OAH. Oh shit. No, but he reached out to me at the start of this year, 2023, right as I was starting at Cal State Fullerton, and he kind of had this proposal for me to work on a collaboration with him. And to be honest, I was intimidated because I've worked on collaborations before, but it was very like, I would call like laissez-faire or like ad hoc, where they kind of made a lot of just like decisions without me having to be involved in the process from the very beginning. Like they kind of involved me as they kind of got things going, and I kind of saw where they were headed, and I said yay on that or nay on this, and we just kind of crafted like art that wouldn't have been made if it were just my own creativity that contributed to it. So I never collaborated with somebody in the sense where we are sharing stems, we're sharing techniques, and with Zol, the process was so copacetic. I knew from when he reached before he reached out to me to do the collaboration, I had seen his brand, I had seen his aesthetic, and I knew that he was serious about his visuals and the kind of impact that he wanted that to have on his audience. I can kind of sense that without him even having to tell me, because it was just so apparent that he took it seriously. And I'm somebody who takes those elements seriously as well. I try to make a brand that's accessible and that is visually appealing to myself and to my audience. And so I like to work with people who have that same kind of passion and eye for that. And Zol has that, and he made the process so copacetic and so easy. He was so easy to communicate with. And he sent over these great stems. That's how Red Planet came to be. I just kind of went to the park, put on my headphones, went for a longer walk than I usually do, 3+ miles, and just really tried to listen to the samples that he sent me, listen to the stems, and just see, okay, how can I put my imprint on this? How can I pay homage to the textures and the qualities of what he's given me while still honoring my own like aesthetic? And it wasn't even I thought it would be like a month of time to make it. No, I think it took me 2 weeks. And honestly, I could have gotten it done quicker had I not had to go to school and manage that transition. So the process was so copacetic. It just made, and it had such an energy to it, Red Planet, that it just made natural sense to make it the